good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tinus, LeReux. I'm originally from Cape Town, South Africa, and as you've just heard, apparently from St. Louis, Missouri. The reason I moved my family to St. Louis is because I believe that the Stadia family is perfectly positioned to help us identify the ideal lead investor for Fancam. Now, I have a few thoughts on this, on what a good investor would look like, but the reality is that in this room, there are more connections, expertise, and knowledge than I will be able to amass in 100 lifetimes. So what I want to ask of you today is that while I'm telling our story and explaining the tech and the opportunity, that you ask yourself one question. Who would be a good fit for Fancam? Who's out there who's smart enough and understands the quality of this data, its potential value, and has enough ambition to roll it out on a global scale? And if a name pops up in your head, please write it down. You can see me afterwards or send me a LinkedIn message while you see it there. And I thank you in advance. So with that, to the story. About a decade ago, my co-founder and I invented a way to capture the ultimate crowd selfie. An image of such extreme high resolution that it allows every fan in a venue to zoom in and find themselves in the crowd. This technological innovation became a business because fans like sharing pictures of themselves and brands like branding those pictures. Now 10 years later, this is still true. In fact, it seems like people like sharing pictures of themselves even more these days, and brands still like branding, which is why we've been able to generate revenue in excess of $7 million by selling these crowd selfies. And while our list of a portfolio of events include the Super Bowl, World Series, UEFA Championship League finals, NBA finals, and basically any big event you can think of in the world. I have to interject here and touch on what was said earlier and say that out of all these events, we've done 1,000. My favorite one was the recent one in St. Louis, where thanks to Matt Gardner at the Blues, I was the guy in the middle on the ice. That would be me. So out of all these events that we've captured, that was unique. Being at an enterprise center for the watch party at the moment when the Blues won it, and being, for some reason being the only guy out there was amazing. So, thank you very much. That wouldn't have happened if not for the Stadia. But back to the story. By 2016, I've spent 6 years looking at pictures of fans, and then I had a epiphany. Our crowd images were very similar to my family photos in the sense that they told the story. By looking at the Daytona 500 crowd year after year and just studying the fans, I could start picking up differences. The data was in the picture. And that's the light bulb moment. Given that we capture 90% of the gigapixel crowd images in the world, if we were able to extract that visual data from those images, we'd know more about crowds, their composition and behavior, than anyone else in the world. And that's exactly what we did. And the great thing is we didn't need to pivot. We just kept on doing what we were doing, capturing more crowds, building systems that automated the process, starting to install cameras to do it remotely. And while we were doing that, scaling up, we were building a system that allowed us to extract this data. That platform is called Crowd IQ. And it's a game changer. Let me explain why. In this industry, teams have very limited statistical data about what's happening in the venue. Now, you would think that that's a problem given their business model, and it is. Because if they're selling tickets or merchandise, or if they're selling media rights, it doesn't matter. All of those revenue streams are dependent, wholly dependent, on a team's ability to capture and maintain a crowd. Not understanding that crowd is the equivalent of commercial suicide. So that is the problem we're solving. Oh, go back. let me explain how it works before I show you in the real world. So, technically speaking, we use computer vision and AI to extract object data from gigapixel imagery. But it's actually relatively easy to understand. AI, per definition, describes the ability of computers to simulate the way humans do things. And this is also true in the sphere of visual analysis. So everything, basically, you and I can deduce from this picture, a computer can deduce from this picture. It is as simple as that. The only difference is that computers can do it faster and they happen to have perfect memory. So the time it takes you to write down what you see in this image, the Crowd IQ platform can do it for a whole stadium. And that's the power of it. Let me show you what it looks like in the real world. So this is an actual dashboard for one of our baseball clients. And it has a couple of sections. I'll walk you through. The first one is the stadium demographics one. Now here, and let's skip that one. Yeah, actually the video to go quicker since there we go. Awesome. It gives you an idea what it looks like. So the stadium demographics section allows teams to get an overview of the demographics on a game-by-game basis. So they can go in and get an idea of how many millennials there are from one game to the next. But the easiest thing to do is actually just calculate their average age. Now this is a use case that was quite surprising to us because we thought teams knew this. But given the fact that they have to use ticketing data, their average age data skewed older. They didn't know by how much. In this particular case, we helped the baseball team prove that the average age of the crowd was 11 years younger than they previously thought. Now, if you want to see a corporate sales executive do backflips in a boardroom, this is a great way to do that. The data has a lot of other use cases as well, but that's an easy one to get. The section demographic stuff, because we capture every picture in the venue, and we assign each face to a seat, we're able to give them granular data. This is data nerd heavy because it means they can track anything. They can look at a specific section where they ran a specific promotion and say, did it work? We were trying to attract more female fans to section 102. Does it work? If it didn't, they can change it the next game. They don't have to wait for a full season to work off a bad survey to get the results. The next one I want to show you here is what we call crowd flow. Once again, relatively simple data. What we do is we capture multiple times during the game, so we just put that on a line graph for them. And it shows them how many people are in the seats at a specific time. The use case I've used here before is the one where we helped a team establish that their fireworks program on a Friday night does in fact not have fans stay longer for games, and at all. And which meant that they could just scrap that as a line item off their budget. And by the way, that's $1 million saving per year. So that's the reason I keep on using that example, is because it shows basically the state of the industry, that we can deliver quantifiable ROI with some of the simplest slivers of the data available to us. The last product I want to show, and this is a new one, and the Stadia process would help us understand the value of this, is we have the ability to track the attention of fans on a per second basis. Which means we can tell a team when are fans looking at the big screen, at their phones, or at the field of play. Now the use cases here are fascinating. From benchmarking different ads to dialing in the game day experience. But it's a whole new space for us, and we've seen a lot of traction. We're in fact installing in 2 NFL venues that we'll announce in the next 2 weeks, and 10 new NBA venues before the end of the year. But that's enough demo data for even for a demo day. Let's get to why I'm here. I said I'm here to help you, help me identify a lead investor. For you to be able to do that, you need a bit of an understanding of our business model. So this is what we've achieved so far. By focusing on automation, post my epiphany, we've been able to increase our per venue revenue from about $12,000 per venue to $85,000 per venue per year. We've been able to sign and install 10 sports teams in the US, and we're delivering data to them every day. So from this graph, it's quite simple. There are two ways to establish growth. One is get more venues. The second one is increase the revenue per venue. And this is where it's beautiful to be in the data business. Because see, the more venues we get, the more revenue we can generate per venue. The reason for this is, as the data set grows, it becomes more relevant and valuable to stakeholders in the ecosystem outside teams. So if you're Nike and you want to benchmark your new campaign in different markets, we have the data. If you're Anheuser-Busch, you want to find the optimal time and place to run your ad and tie that back to sales, we have that data. If you're an architecture firm, guys from Popular are here, and you want to track the effect of designing and implementing new communal spaces, we have that data. A league trying to track millennials, if they're actually growing there, we have that data. A Uber or Lyft trying to figure out when to spin up their fleets when people are leaving the venue, we have that. Security firms who want things that I'm not at liberty to discuss, but we have that data too. The point of the fact is that it goes beyond the 250 potential teams just in the US. And suddenly that business scales not just on a client basis, but in terms of who we can sell the data to. So in conclusion, ladies and gents, if you know of an investor who would understand the value of a singular set of unique data that can add value to almost every stakeholder in this industry, please come talk to me afterwards. Thank you for your time.